South Africa exports about 5 to 6% of its citrus products to the United States, and many rural communities in the Western and Northern Cape are heavily dependent on the exports. A prime example is Citrusdal, where exports to the United States form the economic heart of the vibrant town. The severity and immediate nature of the impending tariffs could mean that towns like Citrusdal now face either increased unemployment or even total economic collapse. The Citrus Growers Association of Southern Africa's Chief Executive Officer is Dr. Boitshoko Ntshabele. A very good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for being on The Full View. So I was looking at some of the numbers that have been put out at the moment surrounding the potential losses, 35,000 jobs, according to a Reuters article today, that might be on the line. What is the basis of that calculation? Because they're quoting your organization as the source.
So those are the actual jobs that are supported by our industry in the Northern Cape and in the Western Cape. So those are current existing jobs that are people employed on farms and in the value chains supporting the citrus industry.
So if 35,000 people could lose their jobs, what does that mean in terms of losses to the industry, potential losses, let's say, in monetary terms?
Look, the exports to the U.S. are significant. They represent 5% of our total export. And in real terms, on an annual basis, we do exports to the tune of about 33 billion rands.
And Spain, Doctor, is the only country, am I right, that is exporting more citrus than South Africa does at the moment. So if there is this tariff, which we know is going to come into effect by the Americans, will it be easy for the US to find other sources to supplement the produce that they would get from South Africa if it does become too expensive for their consumer base?
Look, that's not what we want. So it's also very important to point out that we don't compete with the US in terms of the market. In terms of seasonality, they're in the Northern Hemisphere and we're in the Southern Hemisphere. So we complement each other. Therefore, we normally take over access to the US market after Spain and after the US itself, if Spain exports to the US. So there's no real competition and loss. What happens is an advantage to both countries in the sense that we almost take over citrus consumers from Spain and the US, and we extend the period during which people consume citrus fruit. And as we exit the market at the end of our season, we hand it back to them.
Right.
What we do is that we extend citrus as a value-added product that is important as part of a healthy diet for consumers.
So am I right in saying, Dr. Ntshabele, that ultimately this is business that the citrus growers in this country cannot afford to lose, but these tariffs of about 31%, this levy, will come into effect? What do you want to see happen?
Look, the challenge is that the season is upon us. So we are starting to pack. We are urgently asking government to intervene on our behalf and to ensure that at least either we get an exemption from this tariff, or alternatively, we at least get the 10% that seems to be levied on everyone else, so that we almost on par with our competitors, be it Spain or any other market that will supply the US market.
You want government to intervene on your behalf, but are they giving you any assurances that they will be able to do so? Because the Trump administration is quite adamant that it's taking, let's say, protectionist measures here to look after its economy, its people first, regardless of the potential effects on countries like South Africa and industry here.
Look, government has come to the party in constant communication with government. We understand that they're working on a potential solution that would see some sort of exchange of offers between themselves and in the US. But look, time is not on our side. These things take some time, and it requires that some action gets going in terms of ensuring that we maintain current market access for this year and future years.
And as you say, time is not on your side. How much would you be able to hold on for? How long would you be able to endure if these tariffs kick in before we begin to see job losses and the closures of businesses?
If you heard me correctly, I said the season is upon us. We are this week beginning to pack, and therefore there's no time. So we really ask government to intervene on our behalf to ensure that we are able to supply this market as soon as we start packing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Boitshoko Ntshabele, CEO of the Citrus Growers Association of Southern Africa. Among the various industries that are going to be affected by the Trump tariffs. And by the way, I'm just looking here, breaking news, or news just in at least coming in, the United States making good on the threat by its President Donald Trump last night that it would impose increased tariffs on China, a 104% tariff on Chinese goods and products after it rejected an ultimatum from Trump, we're told will now kick in. Trump, or rather Chinese, I should say, had decided to implement a 34% tariff on American goods in response to the draft of tariffs announced by Trump last week. And the Chinese today saying that they were willing to see this fight to the end. And the Americans have now responded, increasing tariffs on Chinese goods. We'll do the calculations for you as far as the impact on the global economy right here on SABC News.